Okay, so mv squared divided by the length of the rope times sine squared theta times cosine theta is going to equal mg. Now notice that the masses cancel. We don't need to know the mass of the volleyball to do this problem. So we're left with v squared over L sine squared theta cosine theta equals g. A little bit of cross multiplying, we can get all of our trig terms together. So we're going to have cosine theta over sine squared theta. We'll move the v squared underneath the g, and we'll move the L, length of the rope, to be up with the g. Now it turns out that there's a trig identity for cosine theta over sine squared theta. Cosine theta over sine squared theta equals cosine of theta divided by 1 minus cosine squared theta. We can take that and substitute it back into our original formula. And now we've got everything in terms of cosine. So we can actually turn this into a quadratic equation and solve for theta, which is the goal. A little bit of cross multiplying here. Let's wrap some parentheses around that guy, and we'll move him upstairs. And the v squared can go up. Now I'd like to get all the expressions on one side, because for the quadratic formula to work we need the expression to equal 0. So first I'm going to multiply the GL into the parentheses. We no longer need the parentheses. And now I can take the all these expressions and set them equal to 0. So I will subtract off GL from each side, and I will also subtract, well, this is already negative, so I'm going to be adding GL cosine squared theta, and now that equals 0. Okay, I'm going to rearrange this to put the cosine squared theta term first. And next I'm going to have the cosine theta term, and finally the GL. So let's take a look at the coefficients for the quadratic formula. So first we'll start with the cosine squared theta. And this right here is going to equal A. So A equals GL. B is going to be our velocity squared. And C is going to be equal to negative GL. I can now plug this into the quadratic formula. Cosine of theta is going to equal to negative B, so that's going to be negative B squared plus or minus, and in this case it's going to be the minus version, the square root of B squared. B is V squared, and then again we square that, which we can simplify to V to the fourth. Minus 4 times A, and A is GL, times C, and C is negative GL, all over 2 times A, which is G times L. This will get me the cosine of theta, and of course I don't want cosine of theta, I'd like theta. So theta is going to be the inverse cosine of all of this. We're now ready to plug in numbers. Okay, the velocity as given in the problem is 5.6. meters per second. Let's just move the square to the outside. Velocity again is 5.6 meters per second. Gravity, of course, is 9.8 meters per second squared. 9.8 meters per second squared. And 9.8 meters per second squared. And the length as given in the problem is 3.8 meters. Calculator time.